Okay.
Okay, welcome to Trusted Teachers. Another input, being the support that we needed. This is another computing lesson, and I'm joined by Mr. B.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning, Mr. B.
Good afternoon, actually.
Yes, well, what we're going to look at today is computer memory. I'll just come back to that. Computer memory. We've looked at input devices, output devices, backing storage, the processor. So this short video input is on computer memory. And it takes on two very well-known terms, RAM and ROM. So let's have a wee look at what we plan to do. We want to look at the need for memory in a computer system, the differences between RAM and ROM, and hopefully by the end of this short video input, we should be able to explain why a computer system needs memory and compare and contrast RAM and ROM. That's the plan for today. So let's get right into it. Main memory. This is linked to the processor and it holds data and programs while the computer is switched on. Backing storage traditionally holds programs and data, long-term storage when the computer is switched off. Main memory holds programs when we need them, when the computer is switched on. And the size of main memory is judged by the number of storage locations available to the computer system. Okay, what does that mean? Well, here's a diagram that I've created, and we'll see at the top the CPU. Now, Mr. B, can you remember the three parts of the CPU?
There's the ALU.
Yep.
There's the registers.
Yep.
And the control unit, is it?
Absolutely fantastic. There's the registers, the ALU, and the control unit. That's well remembered. So we've got the CPU, and we've looked at that before with the registers, ALU, and control unit. And we can see that memory, that's the blocks down below the CPU. It says random access memory, so that's where RAM. And down the bottom, we've got the read-only memory. That's what ROM stands for. And you can see that that's linked to the CPU. The kind of really important thing to highlight, first of all, is that RAM is non-permanent. It is not permanent. Anything that's in RAM is only held as long as the power is kept to the computer system and it's switched on. As soon as you switch your computer off, anything that's in RAM is gone. It's no longer stored. The difference between RAM and ROM is that ROM is permanent. Now, you'll see there's a difference in the number of storage locations. RAM makes up the very vast majority of memory. ROM is a relatively smaller amount, and it holds certain programs, and we'll talk about them in a minute. The other thing that I've added into this diagram is I showed you the storage there. Storage is linked to memory, so we can, when we switch the computer on, we take programs from storage and we put them into memory. Storage doesn't have a direct connection to the CPU. Programs have to be in memory before they can be run. It's only memory that has those connections with the arrows linking it to the CPU. So yeah, so the big difference here and the thing to highlight from this diagram, first of all, is that RAM is non-permanent and ROM is permanent. The other thing I've tried to show in this diagram is another concept called addressability, and that is the fact that each of the storage locations that make up RAM and ROM have their own unique address. That's it, that's addressability. Each storage location has its own unique address. So let's pop on. RAM, random access memory, is connected to the CPU. RAM memory holds data and programs while the computer is switched on. It's also known as volatile, which means it's non-permanent. So when the computer is switched off, everything is lost from RAM. So what we have to do is make sure we save our work on a regular basis to our backing storage, and that image shows you some RAM chips which are fitted into the motherboard, and that's your main memory. ROM, it's known as non-volatile, so it is permanent and it retains its contents when the computer is switched off, and it stores a number of programs that let us boot up the computer system and use the computer system. It's got the BIOS on it, which is the basic input-output system. So that's some software that the computer needs to run. It's got the bootstrap loader. It's got the post routine, which is the power on self-test. So it holds lots of essential, relatively small programs that the computer needs to operate. And so it's held permanently in our read-only memory. Okay, so that's it for today. It was just looking at the memory in a computer system and the differences between RAM and ROM, where RAM is non-permanent. Once you switch it off, the contents are lost. ROM is permanent. We keep the data in read-only memory. So hopefully we can explain why a computer system needs memory. It needs memory to store programs while the computer is actually operating, as opposed to backing storage that stores our programs long-term when the computer isn't switched on. And in terms of comparing and contrasting RAM and ROM, RAM is non-permanent. It's when you switch the computer off, you lose the contents. ROM is permanent. It holds programs that are essential for the computer to operate and will be there long term. So that was another trusted teacher's input on the need for computer memory, being the support that we needed. And thanks very much for watching today.